During the last year of Read, I was searching for a method to work with people in an intense, direct way. Ever since college days, I had been writing nonsense scripts dealing with nudity and non-sexual eroticism. Also during my college days, I read such books as Toward a Poor Theater and The Theater and Its Double. But it wasn't until I and my communal family took a very intense filmmaking course in Santa Fe in 1972 that I was able to put my weird ideas into performance. We made films of rolling nude down a hill, smearing bodies with baby food, nursing by a sexy woman. But when the film course was over, I didn't have money to make films. I couldn't see putting my energy into getting money to make films. Couldn't see putting up with the compromises and outside control involved in an artistic context requiring big bucks. For me, the act of breaking a taboo is what is magical, what affects change, not someone seeing it in a film. This not having money, this not wanting to be controlled and limited by money, was what sealed me into a performance life. So I started looking for a way to work with people. I wanted to see people nude and touch them and to create an intensity between us. I had been painting oils for years, painting with a brush strapped to my forehead, painting nudes from magazine photos. One day, a rich woman asked me to paint a nude of her. My wife set me and my paints up in the fancy living room as the woman undressed. On that day, I realized how art can give people permission to do what normally is forbidden. It gives a frame that switches realities from the narrow, normal reality to the freeing, altered reality of controlled folly. If you go up to a stranger on the street and ask him to show his body to you, you'll be lucky if he just walks away and doesn't hit you. But if you sincerely, and sincerity is a key, ask him to model for a painting or be in a video that involves nudity, there's a high chance he will do it, because you're offering him a key to a new, different, and temporary reality. This began my street series. I sat on the center plaza, quote, selling newspapers, unquote. But selling papers was only a context. The context for me was an excuse for watching people, talking to people who had the slowness and the insightful curiosity to stop and talk, a way for me to ask them to model for me. These special people were my real targets for my street pieces. They saw past the mask of the cripple. The masses used the mask of the cripple to relieve their guilt, to reinforce their fragile superiority of being, quote, normal, unquote, to make themselves feel better by throwing money, up to $20 a throw, at the less fortunate at whom they wouldn't even look.
The third type of person was made up of the poor and the kids who gave money as a pure spiritual act. When the special person stopped to talk, a crowd gathered around to listen. Money fell on my board when I was asking the special person to model. The newspaper selling quickly fell away. All I had to do is sit there on the sidewalk, being available to talk. It did not matter that I dressed fancy or had a sign saying, "I don't want money, I want you." The money kept falling. But I did discover that there are special spots and special ways of sitting which attract people. Sit at a slightly different angle or at a spot a few feet away from that special spot and you become invisible. I have done these street performances across the country. I've gotten tickets to the Joffrey, filled a couple of workshops, got my cameraman for one of my films, all from the street pieces. I almost caused a riot in front of Caesar's Palace in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The crowd did not take kindly to the casino guards trying to push me away because I was taking Caesar's money. I painted a lot of special people from the street performances. I noticed the changes in the people when they took off their clothes, how they relaxed, how they started talking on a deeper level about important personal things. After I got a taste of direct interpersonal acting out of erotic dreams, painting became too static. I began a series of private performances called Nonfilms. I asked the special people from the street performances to come to my home, into my study, which was my first cave. Within this cave, cut off from the normal reality, we created scenes which no camera would shoot, nobody would see. Although I had played with my friends before in non-sexual eroticism, this was the first time I tried to use sexual acts in a non-sexual art form. I was surprised with the power that this released. Because of these scenes, the people started talking about their lives during these sessions and said it helped their other relationships. Not one person minded that there was no film. These non-films were the base for my career in relationship counseling.
I first noticed the nonlinear effects of private performance in these secret rituals. People whom I approached on the street came to me weeks after the non-film, the person usually reporting changes in his life, in his relationships, in how people were towards him, all of which amazed him, and me too, because he hadn't told anyone that he had done the ritual. Part of the change in how people related to him can be explained linearly by the change in the person emotionally or even physically caused by the performance. But this doesn't explain how things, quote, just happened, unquote, to him. Things that were improbable. Things that we both linked to the ritual. I don't have a choice about what the art is like. Can't change it to suit the art fashion to keep up with the times. It's a living monster pulling me along in its zigzag evolution. Real art is like that. Art is a calling, not a career. The non-film pieces were active physical mutations of the psychic literary lectures of Reed. Both the Reed lectures and the non-films were created around the particular people in my life to call forth an alternative reality to the normal one. I don't function all that well in the social, political, casual, sexual, economical, competitive world. So I look to performance to create a world of community, intimacy, and human intense interaction. For me, art is a matter of survival. But I began to see the non-films were magical, intense, non-sexual one-night stands, which weren't building a sense of expanding community, the heart of the vision that controls my art.